What is going on, guys and girls? Level Up here at OnPointTactical. Today I braved the challenge of using the SAR-21 for an entire afternoon. This gun is the most rage-inducing weapon in Battlefield 4 as far as I'm concerned, and honestly there were several moments while playing with the SAR-21 that I wanted to just punch my screen or punch whoever was on the other side of my screen. But at the end of the day, I think it can be simply put that the SAR-21 really isn't much good at anything. To find out why the SAR-21 is pretty much just a pile of crap, we're going to look at a weapons chart from Simthic.com, and the immediate answer is 600 rounds a minute with the standard assault rifle damage model. Now, that means that the damage per second of the SAR-21 is literally lower than any other automatic weapon in the entire game. That, combined with the fact that its reload time on a long reload is 3.4 seconds, makes it nearly impossible to kill anyone doing anything except for lane or zone control. That's literally all that the SAR-21 has going for it. If we look at its recoil pattern, 0.2 on either side and only 0.18 up, well, that's fantastic, but that means you really aren't going to be landing that many more shots than you would with the AK-12, and you're still doing less damage per second. If DICE had made the SAR-21 shoot even 50 or even 100 rounds per minute faster, it would be a very competitive weapon with something like the AK-5C or even versus, I think, the M416. You might win in the long range scenarios because of that lower recoil pattern. But the way that it sits right now, there's pretty much no incentive to use the SAR-21 other than if you're on the mission to max out all the assault rifles like I am. Now, with that being said, you're probably wondering what I recommend you do to be even semi-effective with the SAR-21. Well, you want to play the outside of the map, and you certainly do want to play zone and lane control, but the thing is, Battlefield 4 and a lot of its maps don't really offer up a whole lot as far as zone and lane control for longer range assault rifles. There really aren't that many sections in Team Deathmatch and Domination that are going to allow you to really put the SAR-21 or anything of its nature to full use whenever you're talking lane control. Now, I personally prefer DMRs for lane control just because of their higher damage model. Means you can pick their faces off if that's all that they're sticking out, if they're head glitching basically. But I really don't see much way of making the SAR-21 very effective. You just have to be very methodical about your engagements, and unless you shoot first, you're pretty much going to get out-damaged by anything. And I literally mean anything. I was getting just beat out in a lot of engagements by the UMP-45. I mean, it shoots slow, but I think it shoots 650 rounds per minute, but it has a higher damage model than other weapons. The SCAR-H is the same situation. It shoots slower than anything except for the SAR-21. Other than the SAR-21, it would be the slowest firing automatic weapon in the game. But it does a higher damage model to compensate for that, doing 34 damage in close quarters and 25 damage at long range. Now, what this standard assault rifle damage model means, whenever we're talking 600 rounds a minute, that means that you're pretty much going to get out-damaged by anything. Like I said before, I'm going to lay out a scenario for you. If you are playing on Dawnbreaker or something of that nature, and you and an enemy clear the corner at exactly the same moment, and you're both equally skilled, and he starts shooting at exactly the same moment that you do, or even roughly at the same moment that you do, you're dead unless you pull off a couple headshots in there somewhere, because he's simply just going to out-damage you. And I literally think that with a DMR and a good player, they're probably going to out-damage you with that as well. So, you're pretty much stuck head glitching, peeking, running a suppressor was the only barrel attachment that I could use to make the SAR-21 work, was a suppressor to help me stay off of that minimap, which was the only way I was going to flank enemies, which was one of the main ways I was able to kill people with it. So you just kind of have to be insanely methodical with this weapon. And I literally think it is just a pile. But if you're dead set on using it and maxing out the assault rifles, literally the only way you're going to pull that off is playing really slow and playing the outside of the map for one. You gotta set up your engagements to be longer range and through some smaller gaps that other weapons with higher recoil models can't shoot through. You gotta hug your cover really closely, and you gotta be bouncing from cover to cover constantly, throwing yourself down a med bag. If you are going to start an engagement at medium range, versus any other weapon, I highly advise that you plop down a medic bag at your feet before you start that engagement. Otherwise, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage, and pretty much the medic bag is the only way to save yourself versus something like the M416 in close quarters, just because it's going to out-damage you by so much. So, I do recommend that you try using a combat sight, and the reason I recommend you try using a combat sight is because for zone and lane control, you're going to need that long-range capability and the ability to pick off headshots pretty consistently. And the best way I've found to do that is to run a combat optic on something like the SAR-21, or, you know, something like the AK-12 as well. Anything that is slower firing and is more meant for zone or lane control, I would highly advise that you run a higher magnification optic than a red dot or something of that nature. But that is going to come down to personal preference. That's just personally what I would recommend if you're dead set on using the SAR-21. But honestly, unless you are trying to max out all the assault rifles, I pretty much see absolutely no reason to use the SAR-21. I'm LevelUp here at OnPointTactical. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that this has been a helpful video review to tell you that you probably should never use the SAR-21 unless you're going to max out your assault rifles, and hope to see you guys on the battlefield.
嘿，你的衣箱来了，快拿走！